Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Now, this video is probably one of the most important videos that I can create in terms of helping people really get to grips with what narcissistic abuse really is and simultaneously help people to distance themselves from internalizing it. Today, we're diving into a topic that finally helps you make sense of what felt like absolute emotional chaos. Why narcissists treat you like the center of their world and then turn around and destroy you. So what if I told you that the way a narcissist loves, discards, and cycles through people has nothing to do with you and everything to do with their relationship with their mother? This video is going to break down how narcissists are unconsciously reenacting their mother wound through you, why they go through the exact same stages in every single relationship they're in, and why this cycle, idealization, devaluation, and discard, isn't random cruelty, but a deeply embedded trauma pattern. So let's start with a hard truth that may give you more peace than any apology or closure ever could. Narcissistic abuse was never about you. The narcissist wasn't bonding with you as a unique person. They were actually bonding with the role that you were filling, unconsciously cast as a figure that both traumatized and shaped them, their mother. Now, psychologists call this repetition compulsion, a phenomenon where someone unconsciously creates old, unresolved trauma in new relationships, hoping for a different outcome. So narcissists are stuck in this loop. What they seek isn't love, it's resolution of a wound that occurred far earlier than any other adult relationship ever could have caused. They're not in love, they're in repetition. Each new victim is just a new opportunity to resolve a trauma that can't be resolved externally. Now, the mother wound is our earliest and most crucial relationship. It teaches us if the world is safe or unsafe, if we are lovable as we are, if we can trust people with our vulnerability. When that bond is broken, inconsistent, or traumatic, a child develops shame, hypervigilance, or emotional disconnection. Now, if that child grows up without support, reflection, or repair, they don't become a healthy adult. They become a deeply wounded one. And some of those wounds, especially when combined with genetics and temperament, they lay the groundwork for narcissistic personality disorder, otherwise known as NPD. And because that mother wound never got addressed, every intimate relationship becomes a battlefield, or worse, a reenactment of their early pain. So the first stage is the idealization stage, the fantasy of the perfect mother reimagined through you. And the timeline for this is usually the beginning of the relationship. So it's like the honeymoon phase. So let's start with idealization. It's a love bombing phase, the flattery, the endless texting, the deep stares, the soulmate talk, the you're not like anyone else energy. It feels magical, but it's not real. It's projection. What the narcissist is really doing is placing you into the role of their ideal mother, the one who never abandoned them, who always saw their greatness, who made them feel whole. And because narcissists lack an inner core, they feed off your response to this idealization. They need your admiration like oxygen, not because they love you, but because they don't know who they are without reflection. In this phase, your boundaries don't exist to them. Why? Because the mental fantasy isn't about separation, it's about fusion. And that's why it's practically impossible for them to respect your boundaries. You're not a person, you're a drug, a mirror, a second chance. What they're trying to achieve is, if I can get this perfect person to love me unconditionally, maybe I'll finally feel whole. But here's a trap. Real humans can't sustain fantasy. And when your humanity shows, like, for instance, needing space, disagreeing with them, showing any kind of emotion, that spell breaks. And then the fall begins. So you move on to the devaluation stage, which is where the fantasy shatters and the original wound resurfaces. The timeline for this is usually after commitment or any emotional closeness. So the devaluation stage is often the most confusing. You go from being adored to being questioned, picked at, blamed, criticised, or ignored. And this is when the narcissist starts to feel betrayed, not by something that you did wrong, but because you reminded them, even unconsciously, of the ways their mother failed them. You stop being fantasy and you start being reality. You ask for reciprocity, you express your needs, and you have moods of your own. To the narcissist, these things trigger their core wound, that early experience of being criticized, emotionally abandoned, or rejected by their mother. So instead of processing that pain, they transfer it onto you. Psychologically, this is where projection, gaslighting, and control tactics ramp up. They may say, "You changed, you're too emotional, you make me feel like nothing I do is good enough." But here's the truth, you didn't change. They just stopped being able to maintain the illusion, and now you've become a threat to the false self they desperately cling to. What they're trying to achieve is, if I control this person better than I controlled my mother, I won't get hurt again. But because no one can heal a wound they didn't cause, this always fails. And that brings us to the discard stage. Reenacting the final betrayal. Only this time, they get to choose. So the timeline for this is after prolonged devaluation or once you stop fueling the fantasy. The discard is abrupt, cold, and shocking, often the part victims struggle with the most. But for the narcissist, this is a climax of their reenactment. If I reject you first, I won't have to feel the shame of being rejected myself. This stage isn't about you doing anything wrong, it's about them reliving the original betrayal on their terms. In childhood, the narcissist may have been suddenly emotionally shut out, felt unseen or worthless, or believed that they were too flawed to love. The discard is their way of saying, "I'm not the helpless kid anymore. I'm the one in control now." So it offers the illusion of closure, but it doesn't work because their wound isn't external, it's internal. So they start the cycle again with someone new. Every relationship the narcissist enters is a stage play. Same script, different actor. Because they are always seeking something they lost, but don't remember how to find it. Each partner equals another chance to perfect the mother wound. But here's a painful irony. The very thing they need, emotional intimacy, vulnerability, repair, is the thing they fear most. So they sabotage it. They need total control, absolute praise, and unconditional devotion. But those are things you give to a child, not a partner. And because no one can play mother forever, every relationship inevitably collapses. Now, I just want to discuss what this does to you. If you've been through this cycle, you know how disorienting it is. One moment you're idealized, the next you're degraded. And when they leave, it's like emotional whiplash. But once you understand this cycle isn't about your worth, but about their unresolved mother wound, you can start releasing the shame. You realize you weren't too much. They were unequipped. You didn't fail them. They were playing out an old story. You weren't loved for who you are, but the role they needed you to fill. And the moment you stop trying to fix them or prove yourself is the moment you begin to heal. So let's have a quick recap. Narcissists aren't just emotionally immature, they're trauma reenactors. They idealize you to recreate the perfect mother fantasy. They devalue you when you remind them of the pain they're running from, and they discard you to flip the script on their original abandonment. But no matter how many times they cycle through these stages, they won't heal because they're still looking for external resolution to an internal wound. You can't love someone into wholeness, especially when they're stuck reliving a broken childhood. So why does this hurt so much? Because the cycle feels real. The love feels genuine. The validation is intoxicating. And the fall from grace feels like your fault. But none of it was about you. You were cast in a role, a ghost of their mother, their wound, their pain. And the tragedy is, you can never heal someone by becoming their unfinished childhood script. And you You were never meant to play the mother role. You were never meant to absorb someone else's pain. You deserve real, mutual adult love, not a trauma script. Once you understand this cycle, you no longer personalize or internalize it. You see it for what it is, a rerun of an ancient wound that you were never meant to carry. So if you could go back to the idealization phase, knowing what I've told you today, what would you tell yourself now? Let me know in the comment section. And I really hope this video was a light bulb moment for you.